Shalom. My name is Todd Bennett, and I'm here at Israel Connection in Boquete, Panama. And I have with me an old Torah Scroll from Jerusalem, and it's a little aged and a little weathered. It's probably about 200 years old. It doesn't have any of the special rollers with it and all that, but we use it for display purposes here, and it's really a fantastic teaching tool. And one of the things we emphasize here at Shema Yisrael and Israel Connection is the importance of getting back to the original Hebrew text of our scriptures, which provides us more depth and understanding that we don't always see in our English translations of the Bible. And I just want to use a quick example here to show you an important aspect of the Hebrew text that gets missed in just about every English translation. I have here I want to talk about the first 7 words in the Bible, and we know them in English as "in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth." Well, really, there's only 7 words in the Hebrew text, and they are Bereshit, Bara, Elohim, Et, Hashamayim, Va'et, Ha'aretz. So we have 7 words that equate with our 10 English words. And in fact, not all of these Hebrew words are even translated into the English. The first word is Bereshit, and that's the word we think of as in the beginning. It starts with a bet, which is actually the second letter in the Hebrew language, and the bet represents a house. And in this text, you can see that the bet is bigger than the other letters, and that's not just for decorative purposes, that's intentional. In every Hebrew text of the scriptures, you will see the bet is larger than the other letters. And that's to emphasize the fact that this is all about a house. And we can see other aspects of this. If we look at Bet Resh, the first 2 letters in the scriptures, they represent Bar, which Bar can mean sun. So we see house and sun are right and emphasized at the beginning of the text. We also see the word bet built into this first word. The bet, the yud, and the taw here, that's actually the word for house. So we can see the word for house in this first word, Bereshit, and we also see the word covenant, which is berit in Hebrew. The bet, the resh, the yud, and the taw, that's berit, which means covenant, and they surround the word esh, which is fire. So we can see a covenant of fire here, and house and sun, all these words just in the first word, the first Hebrew word in the scriptures. So you get all sorts of information from the Hebrew that you don't necessarily get from the English. Another interesting part of this passage is this one word called the et. So we have Bereshit, in the beginning, bara, created, Elohim, that's what we often translate as God, but it's not a really good translation. Elohim is the better word to describe the one that created the universe. And then we have et. There's no English word that we translate this et from. So we have Bereshit, bara, Elohim, et, Hashamayim, the heavens, va'et, and, the vav means and there's an et there too, and that's not translated. And then we have ha'aretz, the earth. So we've got an et here in the 4th position, and we've got an et here in the 6th position. And this has always been a mystery to the sages. What is this word? What is this et? It comprises of 2 Hebrew letters, the aleph, which is the first letter in the Hebrew language, and the taw, which is the last letter in the Hebrew language. Aleph and taw, et. So it encompasses essentially the first and the last, the beginning and the end. And of course, that should raise anybody's eyebrows who's familiar with the book of Revelation. And the Messiah himself said, I am the beginning and the end, I'm the first and the last. And in many of our English Bibles, we read him saying, I am the Alpha and the Omega. Well, essentially, Alpha is the first letter in the Greek alphabet, and Omega is the last letter in the Greek alphabet. He probably wasn't speaking English. He was probably referring to the first letter in the Hebrew alphabet and the last letter in the Hebrew alphabet, which is Aleph and Ta. So Yeshua would have actually said, I am the Aleph and the Ta, not the Alpha and the Omega. So we've got the Messiah himself saying, I am the Et. I am the Word that was in the beginning. And if it couldn't have been any clearer, we read in John 1:1, which is really a parallel or a midrash of Genesis 1:1, and it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So all my life I read this text in the English version of the Bible, and in my Christian upbringing, I really didn't understand the connection, what it meant by this word. But when we understand the Hebrew, we see that John was saying, in the beginning was the Word, was this word, the Aleph Ta, the Messiah. So that was the Word that was there in the beginning and was creating. It was Elohim creating. And John tells us that the Word was Elohim. So that's all sorts of fantastic information that we have right in the first 7 words of the Hebrew text, which we don't ever see in our English Bibles. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, the things that we can learn from the Hebrew text. And I hope that this short teaching inspires you to dig deeper into the Hebrew text. And that's one of the things that we do through the Walk in the Light series. And I would encourage you to get a hold of our books. And we show all sorts of fulfillments of this Aleph Ta throughout the Hebrew Scriptures, because this is not the only place where we see them. It's all throughout the Torah, the prophets, and the writings. We see this Et, and it really amplifies our understanding of the Messiah, and it brings alive those scriptural texts which many people consider to be old. They call it the Old Testament. Well, it's anything but old. It's the foundation of our faith, and it's critical that we have that understanding. So check out our books, check out our website, www.shemaisrael.net, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Shema Israel Teaching, and we'll be having many more teachings regarding the Aleph Ta and other mysteries in the Scriptures that you won't get from your English Bibles.